Good afternoon, everybody. This is Bobby with Raw to Rageous. Welcome back. It's Sunday, September 22nd. It's about 3:25 in the afternoon, and I'm out doing my weekly walk through the timber, checking cameras, leaving deposits, and generally just checking on the status of things at the different tree stand locations that I have. Now, today is a perfect example of why this lunar modeling is so vitally important. It's 100% overcast today. If you're looking at the sky looking for anything in particular, you're not going to see it. You're not going to see the sun, you're not going to see the moon, you're not going to see anything like that. Understanding how the timing of things work and when they're scheduled to come into play is pretty important. And that's what we've been focusing on. So let me hit a couple of these stand locations and I'll be right back with you.
Hey everybody, check this out. I wanted to show this to you. I talked in a recent video about rubs, and I showed you an old rub. Now this right here is a brand spanking new one. And the reason I can tell is that the bark or the skin on the outside of the little sapling here has been shaved, and you've got good, clean, tan colored, fresh wood underneath exposed. Now the shaving here is about, from there to there, it's about 12 inches. And this is right over a feeding spot. You can see some of these little corn pieces down here on the ground. But this absolutely shows that the bucks are still coming through here, which is fantastic. The camera shots will show that too. But even more importantly, this shows the direction of travel of the deer. They're going to shave the side that they're traveling from. They will walk up to this sapling. They will scrape it with their antlers. They'll rub on it for a little while, leave scent markings from their occipital glands on the face of it, and then they'll continue off either to the right or to the left, depending on which way they want to go. But this is a brand new rub. And this right here is an even bigger example of just exactly what a rub looks like. Now this one wasn't hit long enough to really scrape all of the bark off. But I want you to take a good look at the gouge right there. There is fresh seepage underneath that, in that little seam, that little crack right there. But you can see that the bark has been worked over. And as the camera pans a little higher, you can see that it stops. That's about 3.5 feet off the ground right there. And then we get back into the normal bark appearance. That is a fresh rub. And this tree right here, as big as it is likely to be a mature buck, and he's going to come back to this spot right
Something
here.
I'm very aware of whenever I'm putting corn down, or milo, or rice bran pellets, quite frankly, any kind of feed or supplement, is what my shot angle is going to look like. In fact, let me turn this camera around and I want to show you where I'm going to be setting up a tree location that I'm going to be in at this particular stand spot.
So as I pan this thing forward, what you're going to see is, here's the trophy rock. It's a 12-pound trophy rock location. And if you look at the area right here, just off to the side of it, the leaves have been pulled back a bit. Then you're going to start to see the corn deposit here broadcast in a pretty good spread. You can see all that yellow speckling back off through there. Now I've got a camera set up right there to the left of where you see that white bag. And then that right there is the tree that I expect to be in, about 25 feet up in the air. So what I've done, once I trim out this vegetation right in here, right in there, I'm going to have a clean shot to this whole pathway. And I might just get it on camera.
All right, folks, so I'm going to scan up right now so that you can see the sky up above me. Move my head out of the way. It's very, very overcast. It's, like I said just a second ago, it's 100% overcast. So, especially on days like this, and there will be a lot of them during deer season, knowing what time the deer are going to be coming through is going to be huge and give you a competitive advantage, if you will, over all of the hunters around you and all of the hunters in the area, because you're going to be seeing deer that they won't be, because they will either stay home because it's wet, or they will stay home because it's cold, or they will stay home because they're hungry, or they will stay home because of whatever. And you will know exactly when to be out in the timber, out into the woods, out into the fields, out into the stands and the blinds. On days like this, what you need to know is what time you need to be there. The moon tells us that. Now, I've already talked about the lunar transit. The position underneath the Earth, which is also by definition a transit, but it's not the one that we refer to as such, is also a period where deer activity it's present, but it's not great. It happens, but it doesn't happen to the degree that it does in the transit that is directly above. Now, you're going to have about an hour window on either side of that underneath pendulum swing. If this is the point where the moon passes through its point directly underneath, the hour this way and the hour this way on either side of the clock of that time is going to be some limited movement. Now, it is going to be more movement than it will be at most of the other times in the day, but it will not be it will not be near as significant as it would be if the moon were directly overhead. The important part that needs to be understood about the time that the moon passes underneath is that it lasts longer. It lasts about an hour to an hour and a half on either side of the transit time directly overhead. It lasts about an hour on either side, 45 minutes to an hour on either side of the pendulum swing down below the Earth on the opposite side of us. And we'll get to the moonrise and the moonset really soon. All right, everybody, this is part 4, and another piece of information that I'm passing along is that a lot of hunters use what I'll call a one-crop shop, meaning when they feed, they're feeding just corn. That's all they feed. They feed corn. Or they feed rice bran pellets. Well, and that's all they feed. Or they feed apples, and that's all they feed. One of the things that I've been doing over the last several weeks is gauging how long it takes for deer to clean up a specific spot of a specific supplement or a specific food source. So for corn, I know that they're clearing a place out in about 4.5 days. For milo, they're clearing it out in 2. For rice bran pellets, they clear it out in about 3 or 4. For rice bran, the powder, they clear it out in about a week. Now, a couple of things that are very important. If you're feeding rice bran, a powder, or something similar to it, you need to be mindful of the effect of moisture on that food supply. It could mold on you if it sits out too long, so you need to make sure that it's gone. If there's mold, then you're going to stifle your efforts to bring the deer in because they're going to step away from it for a while. So what I will do, knowing what time I'm working with the moon and knowing what time of day I'm planning on being out and what days of the week I plan on being out, I will gauge what I'm supplying based on how long it's going to be before I'm sitting in that tree stand. So on that note, this is part 4 of how to change the way you deer hunt forever. We've talked about a lot of different things this part. We've talked about the lunar movement when it's below the Earth and how long that lasts and what kind of an effect it has on deer movement. We've talked about different feeding supplies and what to do and when to do it. We've talked a little bit about fresh rubs and what those signs indicate. When you pull all of that information together, various parts of this series, how to change the way you deer hunt forever, and you're going to see a tremendous amount of success. This is Raw to Rageous. I'm Bobby Wood. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done it already, drop a like, drop a subscribe, pass this on to your friends. Share it. Share the wealth. This information is available to everybody. You just got to pull a lot of different things together. But when you do, it's fantastic. And being able to see wildlife on a grand scale and on a frequent scale is pretty awesome. So with that, we're going to call this one a wrap, and we'll see you next time.